Nebraska is getting close to spring practice, so that means it is finally time to reveal my official Nebraska depth chart prediction. We're going to answer a lot of questions in this video. What does the running back rotation look like? Who are the 5 starters on the offensive line? What happens with that loaded secondary for the black shirts, and so much more. So buckle up. This is going to be an exciting video looking over Nebraska starters, their depth pieces, and so much more. So really quick, we have a lot to get into. Hit that like button if you're fired up about this depth chart prediction, because I know I am. Also, if you're a diehard Nebraska fan, you're unsubscribed, what are you waiting for? We have the best family here on Husker YouTube, over 11,000 strong. So join this family for daily content from now all the way until the season. Please, it would help me out a lot. Hit that subscribe button. Thank you so much. But without further ado, let's get into it, going over my official predictions for Nebraska's depth chart going into next year. Man, we have a loaded roster for the first time in a long time, and it's going to be a couple positional groups that have a lot of questions. Who's going to start? Who's going to be the backups? Let's just dive right into it. Starting off with, of course, the quarterbacks for the Big Red. This should not be a question on who the starter is, but particularly let's get into the depth in that quarterback room. As you can see, Raiola will be our starter for the second year in a row. That's not a shock, but I think my prediction for who our backup is a little bit of a shocker to a lot of Husker fans. You know, a lot of beat reporters, a lot of other YouTubers, I think they're penciling in Jalen Gramsad to be Nebraska's backup next year. I really don't think that's what's going to happen. Jalen Gramsad's a fine quarterback, but the reason why he's coming back and why it's so significant that he's back for the Huskers for another year is, yeah, he's a depth piece, but he's a glorified coach for Nebraska. And he's a guy who's going to go into coaching after his Husker tenure. I think he's going to be more of a coach for Nebraska this year on the sideline, helping out with that quarterback room. Obviously, you're going to put him into action if needed, but I don't actually think he's going to play. Marcos Davila is a guy that I'm very high on. And I've watched his film, whether that was, his practice clips at Purdue, whether that was him in his senior year of high school. This kid's an absolute baller, man. Great arm strength, can make plays outside the pocket, really smart. I think he's going to continue to develop. He has a good attitude. He has the right mindset. He's going to come here and earn everything that he gets. I think Marcos Davila is so much more talented than Jalen Gramsad. I think he's ready to go, and I think it's going to be exciting to see him as that backup. I do believe he will back up Dylan Rhule this year. And then TJ Lateef, I actually have as a third string, just because I think TJ is going to impress a lot of Nebraska coaches throughout the spring, throughout the fall, and he's going to get that opportunity to probably play in 2 or 3 ball games. You're going to want to keep his red shirt, obviously, but he will play in 2, 3, 4 ball games, especially, if we're blowing out a team, you want to put TJ in there, see what he got. So that's what I think is going to happen with that quarterback room. I think this is going to happen pretty much to a TJ, and Gramsad might play in 1 or 2 games, but he's mostly just going to be a coach and a depth piece. I have him at that 4th string spot. Now let's get to the running backs, because there are some question marks here. Of course, Emmett Johnson will be that starter. No question about it. But is he going to be a bell cow? I actually don't think so. Jamarion Parker will be the 2nd string running back. I love Jamarion Parker, again, coming out of St. Louis, Missouri. Cardinal Ritter, guy who was really, really talented. A lot of programs in the country wanted him. Nebraska beat out Arkansas, most notably. He was a longtime Arkansas commit. I mean, Jamarion Parker, man, he's physical. He has speed. He can make plays after contact. I really, really, really like this prospect, and I think he's going to be one of those rare Nebraska running backs to come in here and get in the mix as a true freshman. So Jamarion Parker at that 2nd string spot. I got Quinn Ives at 3. I'm just not a big Quinn Ives guy. It just goes back to that lack of production. If we're going to year 3 and you have 6 carries on the career, very, very few instances are you going to really work out here. So it's going to be a big spring for Quinn Ives. He has a lot to prove. The coaching staff continues to hype him up. We got to see it, man. We got to see it. I'm going to have him at that 3rd string spot, but he's going to be our short yardage back. Mekhi Nelson, I like. I think he's still raw. I think he still needs to develop. But, he's a good 3rd down running back, can catch passes, can do just about everything. So I like Mekhi Nelson too. And then Connor Booth at that 5th string spot. I know a lot of Nebraska fans like Connor Booth, myself included. Broke 1 million records in the state of Nebraska for rushing yards. I believe he was, 4th in all of America his senior year. But, Connor Booth, the level of competition, obviously, he didn't play many good players, if at all. It's going to take some time for him to develop to playing actual Big Ten defenders, and I think he still needs to put some weight on him as well. But I like Connor Booth. I just don't think he's going to play as a true freshman. So that's the running back rotation. I do think we're going to get a transfer in the spring. I've been very adamant about that. Let's get to the wide receivers. This is going to be interesting. Now, I don't think the starters are really up for debate. Dane Key, Isaiah Hunter, Ja'Cory Barney. Right, take that to the bank. That's what's going to happen there. Obviously, Dane Key will start. Isaiah Hunter started last year for Cal, played really well for them. And then Ja'Cory Barney, we know how good Ja'Cory Barney is at that slot. I think Ja'Cory Barney is going to be the best of all three of them. I really, really like Corey Barney. But, talking about this depth a little bit, you have Harley Gilmore in the slot there, backing up Corey Barney. Harley Gilmore is a guy who probably would have played a lot more for Kentucky if he didn't get injured in the offseason. You feel good about that there. Demetrius Bell, somebody who I'm high on. I think he's maybe the fourth or fifth best receiver in this room. Love Demetrius Bell, man. He's finally going to be healthy. Janiran Bonner is just a guy who can play pretty much any position. He can play fullback, he can play wide receiver X, he can play slide, he can play tight end. Just got to slide him in there, but he's a utility knife. And then, you see kind of the younger players there in that third string spot. Cortez Mills, I'm high on, but it's going to take time for him to develop. Isaiah Mosey's dynamic after the catch, and then you have Quinn Clark, of course, big body, 6'5", coming out of Montana. So feel pretty good about that. I don't really anticipate too many other shakeups. You might see a guy. I think Alex Bullock might be back for the Huskers. Don't quote me on that, but he might be in the mix as well. So those are the wide receivers. Then going to the tight ends. Of course, Carter Nelson's going to be that starter, not a shocker. Mac Markway, you feel good about that. Again, people forget about him, transfer from LSU. Like him as a prospect, another St. Louis guy, 4-star recruit. You just got to stay healthy, man. He's just got to stay healthy. And then Heinrich Haarberg, I have at that third string spot. I don't even want to call Heinrich Haarberg a tight end because I don't think that's what he should be. He's going to be more of a slot guy, utility knife like Janiran Bonner. Again, there's going to be very, very few times where he actually lines up as a traditional tight end because at the end of the day, he's not going to put on enough weight to block a Big Ten edge rusher, a Big Ten defensive end. So he's going to be more of a slot guy, but you have him at that third string spot. And then Luke Lindenmeyer, I'm very high on, just a nice blocking tight end. I actually think he's going to be really, really good for the Huskers. So very strong tight end room for the first time in a long time. Yeah, I'm impressed, man. But hopefully some of these younger players like Eric Ingerson, Ian Flint, they can continue to develop as well. Now let's get to the offensive line. Now, I actually really like this starting five for the Huskers. I actually like the top 7 guys in this offensive line department. I really like. You got Gunnar Gatula at that left tackle spot. He's a third-year player. Okay, whatever. He played pretty good for the Huskers last year. You have Henry Lutovsky at left guard. I mean, that's a, 5th, 6th-year guy coming back. I've always liked Henry Lutovsky. Justin Evans has got a lot of starting experience going into his 4th year. And then you have your 2 transfers, Rocco Spindler, who should play right guard. That's his true position. That's his best position. There's been talk about putting Rocco Spindler at center. Don't think that's going to happen. I don't think that should happen. This is his best position. And then Elijah Pritchett at right tackle. Now, I know there's also been some questions. Is he going to play left tackle? To the people who think he's going to play left tackle, just watch that Alabama film. Okay, he was horrendous at left tackle. The second they moved him to right tackle, he was a really productive player. He should be a right tackle. That's his best position. This isn't even a question. He's going to be the right tackle. Should not be left tackle, or else Dylan's going to be in a lot of trouble. So those are the starting 5. You know what I like about this though? Your 2 swing tackles off the bench. Teddy Prohaska and Turner Corcoran, 2 veteran guys. That's what I love about this offensive line department is that you're not pressured to start some of these veteran guys. You have 2 really good swing tackles. You need a swing tackle off the bench who can come in a pinch, who can play left, right, who can play guard. That's what we get here with both those guys. So really like both these guys coming off the bench. Then you have some younger pieces to fill in the rest of the 2 deep. Preston Tomoa, Grant Bricks, Matt Rhule name dropped those guys last weekend, said they were productive, and then Sam Sledge at the center spot who's played in the past. So like that 2 deep, 3 deep, those are some guys who have kind of played in the past as well, and I've heard some good things in practice. So that's the offensive line. Honestly, pretty good. Does it move the needle? Is it a top 10 unit? Probably not, but a lot better than what we've had in the past. Looking at this defensive line, there are a lot of questions, losing Ty Robinson, losing Nash, losing Jamari Butler, even losing a Prince Wamamielum. Who's gonna take this new role? Who's gonna start? Still really like this defensive line for the Huskers. Keona Davis, I expect to start. We've heard the talk last offseason about how he's the next Ndamukong Suh. It's time for him to go out there and prove it. I do think he starts. Riley Van Poppel at that nose tackle spot. He could play DN, he could play nose. I personally like him at nose, but I could see him, playing a DN role like Ty Robinson. And then you got Cam Lenhart, pencil that in. He's a black shirt through and through. He will start. I think some people have been saying he's not going to start. Cam Lenhart is probably the biggest bank of all of those guys. He will start, no question about it, 100%. Then into the 2 deep, Williams Dewannery off the bench. I really like him kind of as a true pass rusher. Like put him in on 3rd down situations. You don't have to play him really that much. He's not great in the running game, but if you put him in on a 3rd down, right, you give him that edge. Maybe you swap him out for Cameron Lenhart. I really like that. Elijah Judy, backup nose tackle. He's going to get a lot of reps. Feel good about that as a veteran. And then Jalen George, somebody who was productive last year in the FCS ranks. we'll see what he can do. Then those are the backups there as well. So the depth isn't really great on this defensive line. I could see a guy like a Malcolm Simpson, true freshman, try to get in this 3 deep, but we'll see about that. Going to the linebackers here. Really, really fun linebacker room. I mean, this is a fun linebacker room. You got Deshaun McCullough at Jack, which I'm not too crazy about. And I was, on the Deshaun McCullough middle linebacker train. I just think he's so athletic where you want to put him in space. But, his best production did come at Indiana when he was a pure pass rusher. So you feel good about him at Jack. Obviously, the measurables speak for themselves. 6'5", 230 pounds, incredibly fast, incredibly good wingspan. Like I'm telling you guys, Deshaun McCullough will be an NFL draft pick next spring. We got ourselves a good one there. Then you got Vincent Shavers. He is a stud, man. And then you got Marquez Watson-Trent there at the other middle linebacker spot, who might be the best player on this Nebraska defense, period. That guy is a freak. I also think will be drafted next April. So those are the starting linebackers, but the depth honestly is pretty good too. You got Willis McGahee and Dawson Merritt at that Jack spot. Both guys I expect to get a lot of reps. Buda Wright is a backup linebacker, another 6-year guy. I mean, one thing that's good about this team, a lot of veteran depth. I really, really like that. Christian Jones in there. You got Dylan Rogers, who's gotten better throughout his career. So not bad there in that linebacker room. Now we have to have a conversation. The biggest question mark going into Nebraska spring practice is what's going to happen with this secondary. A lot of competition going to go on. Here are my predictions for how that's going to play out, who's going to start, who's going to be backing up everybody. There it is. Take a look at it, and then I'll explain. Sear right at that first corner spot, no question about it, right? You can pencil him in. Then I have Andrew Marshall as our other corner starter. I really like Andrew Marshall coming out of Idaho. He's a physical tackler. He has great speed, great acceleration, very, very good in zone coverage, something that Nebraska corners have lacked in the past. No, I just think he's the complete corner. I mean, people forget how many teams wanted him coming out of Idaho. Miami really wanted this guy, and he chose Nebraska. I love Andrew Marshall as a prospect. I really feel good about that corner depth, too. Larry Tarver's a guy that I've been high on ever since he committed to Nebraska. I think he might give these both those guys a run for their money and start. Amari Sanders, a lanky corner, another Florida guy. You have Bly Hill, who, the coaching staff thought he was going to start last year. And then you have Jeremiah Charles, who's very athletic. So I like that corner room a lot, and that's not even naming a couple other guys who could make plays and, really get in that rotation. So you feel good about that corner spot. The rover spot is a big question, and I put in Marquez Buford as our starter because I don't really know where I want to put him. Obviously, he's a safety through and through, but he did get experience playing corner this year for the Huskers. He played linebacker in the past. I think of all the players on the team who can fit this rover spot, Marquez Buford fits it best. And I would not be shocked if we get a headline from Matt Rhule or John Butler in the next coming months that say Marquez Buford's going to be our starter at that rover spot, because I think that's what's going to happen there. You got Donovan Jones backing him up, Raheem Stewart, both guys who are very physical, can play safety, can play corner. That's why they're going to go to rover. Then you have our safety spot. Jameer Khan at free safety is really interesting to me. I like Jameer Khan as a corner personally, but he's so talented where you want to put him on the field no matter what. And I love him in zone coverage. He's physical. He can make tackles. I could see him really fit at that free safety spot. It's a little bit of a reach because he's a true corner, but you got to put him on the field. And I'd much rather have Jameer Khan out there than Malcolm Hartsock. That's just me. Then at the other strong safety spot, you got Deshaun Singleton, no question about it. He's going to start once again, and I think he's going to have his best year yet, and it won't even be close. Derek Branch backing him up. People forget how high this coaching staff is on Derek Branch. He showed out in the one game he played this year. I believe it was UTEP. And then Mario Buford and Caleb Benning as the third-string safeties. All right, to wrap this up, looking at the specialist, John Hull, starting kicker, no question about it. Jack McAllister, punter. Kevin Gallick will be our long snapper. The interesting thing is, who will our return men be? I got Andrew Marshall returning kicks for the Huskers. He was dynamic at Idaho, returned a couple to the house. And then punt returner, I got Jacory back there. I think Jacory's is so dynamic, man. I would really, really like if he continued to return kicks or return punts. And then I like Harley Gilmore as well. Once again, very dynamic receiver. All right, guys. That is my official prediction for Nebraska's depth chart going into spring practice. Let me know your thoughts down below. What do you agree with? What do you disagree with? I absolutely want to hear what you have to say. Let me know in the comment section. Hey, if you made this far in the video, you know what to do. Hit that like button and subscribe. As always, folks, go be good. Go Matt Rhule. See you in the next one.